So yeah, there's some really cool combat systems in Cyberpunk 2077 that are like Skyrim. It's one of my favorite RPGs, and this is really cool. We're going to be talking about this right now. Plus, we're going to be taking a look at a recent new interview with some of the journalists that got to go hands-on with Cyberpunk 2077. They talk about both the good and bad regarding melee combat, non-lethal takedowns, combat overall, and a bunch of other things, including population density and can you buy property. Will CD Projekt Red actually allow you to buy property in DLC? Actually, some really neat stuff there. And yeah, I'm going to go over your top comments later in the video. Let's do this. Welcome back, everyone. Open World Games here. Hope you're doing good. And let's dive straight in right now. So yeah, if you want to check out the full interview from Elena Pierce, who interviews both IGN and GameSpot, see the link in the description. It's an hour long, but I break it down here in I hope to do this in about 10 minutes or so. All right, check this out. So how is this similar to Skyrim? They went on to say this: much like Skyrim, if you use equipment or a weapon, like the shotgun, for example, you begin to level up your perk systems related to that weapon or equipment. Now, this is similar to Skyrim in the way you upgrade your bow by, well, using your bow in battle. So the perk system is also built independently from any ability or skill points you unlock. I thought this was so badass and cool, and I love that Cyberpunk is taking this direction. So yeah, considering that the perk system is going to be built independently, catered towards basically your abilities, equipment, and your guns, things like that, you can really fine-tune your character kind of away from the skill tree, which is really interesting. Of course, you can really focus on specializing on stealth, but apparently you can also have really powerful weapons, which is kind of separated from that, stealth skill tree. So yeah, that's actually a possibility when building your character. I thought that was really cool. Let me know what you make of that one, how it's similar to Skyrim. Now, they did talk about a lot of other stuff here as well, including melee combat. They had some good things to say about melee combat and some bad things to say, so let's dive in. Now, melee combat. Now, Phil of GameSpot said the melee combat kind of felt spammy, and he also used the word flaily as well. And then following up, Tom of IGN said it felt very basic, but there's a light and heavy attack as well as a block and counter punch. Said it was fun enough, and he would rather be using the other abilities and guns in the combat. So there's that as well. Now, they said this: the best part of the combat was the rifles. One rifle in particular could see through walls and kill enemies behind cover. There was also a shotgun that acted like a taser as well. So there's your non-lethal options right there. And speaking of non-lethal options, they did cover this too. They go on to say this: for pacifists out there, you can get non-lethal weapons and takedowns, but it is also going to be very difficult to become a full-on pacifist. However, it is viable through hacking abilities and stealth. So it does sound like it's actually possible, but it is going to most likely increase the game's length and time they're going to be spending in those combat sections. But it's interesting that combat is also very difficult, it looks like, because of how the leveling system works and how, it's separated from district to district. So let's dive into that a little bit more right now. So, combat. IGN said early on the combat is actually underwhelming and wasn't blown away by it. However, as more options presented themselves, combat started becoming way more interesting and began to open up more. So it sounds like it's going to take a little bit of time to get into the interesting stuff. They say this: GameSpot said combat is very challenging as you are learning the game. Both IGN and GameSpot did not get into too deep into customization and the skill tree, so they didn't really get to fine-tune their character the way they wanted to. It sounds like it seems like it takes forever to get to that point. For GameSpot, they said it took nearly 10 plus hours to really get some interesting stuff with combat. For example, he got an ability when dodging and aiming down sights, time would slow down with that ability, which is really cool. That significantly changes stuff in combat for sure. Furthermore, it says things like the Mantis blades seem to take a while to unlock. They said that happens at Street Cred 25, so expect to be putting in some serious time with this game. before being rewarded. It's most likely due to the fact that the game will center around story first to hopefully not feel like a giant tutorial. I really hope that it doesn't feel like a giant tutorial where you're just overwhelmed constantly at the beginning of the game. I've been streaming a certain game that has been doing this to me, and I'm 3 hours and I'm still getting tutorial message, and it's very consistent. So I hope that front and center with the beginning of the game, through the tutorial, well, through the prologue, I should say, it doesn't feel like one, big giant tutorial of menus popping up in your face. So hopefully they avoid that, and it could be that's the case here. Now, IGN predicts it will take nearly 16 hours to really determine if the game is deep or shallow when it comes to combat, because a lot of those skills related to combat are actually blocked off until later on, until roughly about 16 to 20 hours into the game, where you can really start feeling like you're creating a character that's your own when it comes to combat. Now, that might not be true for everyone. Again, this is going to be their personal take on the situation with their time with Cyberpunk 2077. And who knows, CD Projekt Red could actually release patches post-launch to change things with leveling and things like that if they determine it's taking too long to get to certain points. We'll see what happens. All right, but they do want it to be a slow burn, so there's that. But yeah, moving on, let's talk about the population density. There's been some concerns about this, but let's see what IGN, GameSpot, and Elena Pierce had to say. Now, Elena Pierce said she had several issues with NPCs being repeated and doing the exact same animations when they were like side by side. And then GameSpot said it was quite dense and felt really good. It felt like a proper city. There were some odd pop-ins when it came to the crowd, but IGN also agreed that the density was pretty impressive. What's really cool, though, is they noticed that the style of the people in city changed from district to district, and that's really important to make sure it doesn't feel repetitive and redundant as you're exploring that city. They really focused on making each district feel unique, it sounds. Now, let's talk about side quests a little bit, and then also, what about entering buildings? This is what they had to say. Now, side quests become more than just one-off stories, as characters in those quest lines seem to actually stick around through your adventure. And it sounds like you can go back to them for more opportunities to continue that story that they have to offer, which is neat. They also clarified, much like in real life, you aren't going to want to enter every single building anyway during your journey. So there's been concerns that, like, can you enter every building that you see in the city? No, that's definitely not the case. But yeah, in real life, are you doing that anyway? No, you're trying to get to your destination. And yeah, I guess the city looks real enough to where it alludes to that feeling that, yeah, perhaps you can enter every single building. But yeah, you can't. All right. What about buying property? Now, this is very interesting about buying real estate and property. They go on to say this: there is no property buying, but CD Projekt Red is very interested in this as DLC. For now, at launch, it's more about buying the cars. And they did confirm that purchasing cars in this game is very, very expensive. So yeah, you've been warned with that one. Now, there was another article that was about the recent financial call from CD Projekt Red about Cyberpunk 2077. And it was interesting because they mentioned that, yeah, there's going to be bugs in the game, sure, at launch. They will be patching it, but they're going to be very hard to spot. They say this: so in terms of bugs, we are all aware of them. Of course, such a big game can't be just bug-free. That's a kind of obvious, but we believe that the level will be as low as to let gamers not see. Then this is translated. This is very rough translation. Unfortunately, some bugs extended previous were caused by some general features, and many of them are already fixed. So what gamers will get will be different from what we viewers will get in this final review. Is it's better than what previewers got. That is such a rough translation. So yeah, it sounds like they were able, with the 21 day delay, able to really nail down a lot of those bugs. Sounds like, sure, there's going to be bugs, but they're not going to be game breaking. That's what they're basically stating there, and I'm paraphrasing, but that's what they're stating there. And they're not going to be noticeable. You're going to have to actually go hunting for the bugs and stirring up, glitches, trying to, at least, it sounds like. We'll see what happens. I'm curious to see. That's what they say. We'll see. All right, let's go on to your top comments. Remember to leave a comment down below for a chance of written it up in a future video. First top comment comes from The Amazing Bacon. He says, by the looks of things, I'm not worried about the DLC delay. I'll probably still be exploring Night City on foot when that day comes. I agree. So yeah, because of the initial 21 days delay, they also had to delay, it sounds like, the DLC announcement and that sort of thing. So I totally agree. The game's going to be so big, and people will also be choosing different life paths and replaying it. I can wait for the DLC. But it sounds like it's going to be revealed or talked about at the very least early 2021. So look out for that news during that time. Michael Gilbert says this: next week is going to feel the longest as we start to see the finish line and Twitch becomes nothing but techno gang shootouts and brain dance censoring. Yeah, man, I am counting down the days over here big time. We are so freaking close. And there's been, rumors about when the release date is, in terms of the actual time frame when you can actually start playing the game. But the official response from CD Projekt Red is they'll be releasing that shortly. So that's why I haven't really been reporting on like this news about play it early and stuff like that. We'll see what CD Projekt Red says here. I think probably in the next day or two. That's my assumption. All right, Overlord Oakenheart says, I'm taking vacation time from the 10th through the 17th. Already got approved. When my boss asked where I was going, I said, Night City. Awesome, dude. What a response. Night City, where is that? But yeah, let me know if you guys have taken a vacation. And also, don't be afraid to leave a comment down below. It could end up in a future video. But thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more open world gaming goodness and Cyberpunk 2077. And I will see you next time. Take care.